My own father laughed at me and said, "She's just emotional. She dreams too much. Girls like her don't make it in the real world." And everyone at the table nodded. Let that sink in. I didn't expect applause. I didn't even expect encouragement. But I never expected my own father to be the one who would publicly reduce me to a stereotype. Not because I lacked talent, not because I hadn't worked hard, but because I was a woman who dared to dream loudly. She's too sensitive. She's not practical. She should think about settling down. Those words weren't shouted. They were delivered casually, as if my limits had already been decided. And what hurt the most wasn't the criticism. It was the agreement, the nods, the silence, the way nobody questioned it. I felt anger rise in my chest, hot, heavy, uncomfortable. But as a woman, I had learned early on that anger makes people uncomfortable. So I swallowed it. I smiled. And that's how women are taught to survive humiliation, by making it look polite.
That night, alone in my room, I replayed the moment again and again. Not his words, but the meaning behind them. You're dreaming too much. You're asking for too much. You're forgetting your place. And for the first time, I wondered if maybe I really was wrong. That's how doubt enters a woman's life. Not loudly, but softly. It disguises itself as concern, as protection, as what's best for you. I cried quietly. Not because I was weak, but because I was exhausted. Exhausted from proving that ambition isn't arrogance, that independence isn't rebellion, that dreaming doesn't make me irresponsible. I wanted my father to say, "I trust you." Instead, I felt like I needed permission to believe in myself. Something changed after that night. The sadness didn't disappear. It sharpened. My anger no longer burned outward. It turned inward. I asked myself hard questions. Why do I need validation to chase my own future? Why does my confidence scare people? Why is a woman's ambition treated like a threat? That's when I stopped explaining. I stopped justifying my choices, stopped shrinking myself to make others comfortable. I worked quietly. While people questioned my timeline, I built my skills. While they commented on my age, my appearance, my attitude, I invested in my growth. Failure hit me harder than I admit. There were nights I wanted to quit. But every time I heard, "She won't make it," I stayed. Anger became discipline, and discipline became power. Months later, another family gathering. Same house, same faces, but I wasn't the same woman. When the doorbell rang, my father stood up proudly. His CEO had arrived, a man whose approval carried weight. But when he walked in, his eyes didn't search for authority. They landed on me. He smiled, walked closer, and said, "I didn't realize you were his daughter. I've heard a lot about your work." The room went quiet. Not awkward, just honest. I didn't feel revenge. I felt relief. Because happiness isn't being proven right. It's being at peace with who you've become. My father didn't apologize, but for the first time, he listened. And that was enough. Sometimes the strongest response isn't anger. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be, without asking for permission. If you're a woman who's been told she's too much, too loud, too ambitious, too emotional, don't argue. Grow. Let your consistency speak when your voice is ignored. Because the world doesn't fear women who dream. It fears women who refuse to stop.
People talk a lot about being pure, but what if purity isn't about what you did? It's about what you chose not to become. Is a person still pure if they have been hurt, broken, angry, or emotionally damaged, but still choose kindness, honesty, and self-respect? Answer: purity has been misunderstood for a very long time. Most people think purity means having a perfect past, no mistakes, no emotional scars, no wrong turns. But real life doesn't work that way. Real purity is not about what happened to you. It's about who you decided to be after it happened. A person can be lied to, betrayed, abandoned, or emotionally destroyed and still remain pure. Why? Because purity lives in intention, not in experience. Getting hurt doesn't make someone impure. Becoming cruel because of it does. Think about it. If someone trusted deeply and got hurt, does that make them weak? Or does it mean they had the courage to love honestly? If someone felt anger after being wronged, does that make them impure? Or does it make them human? Purity is choosing not to pass your pain on to someone else. It's choosing honesty even when lying would be easier. It's choosing self-respect over revenge. It's choosing growth instead of bitterness. Some of the purest people you will ever meet are the ones who have been through the darkest moments. They understand pain, so they don't cause it unnecessarily. They know loss, so they value connection. They've seen how ugly life can get, and still choose to be decent. Purity is not about being untouched, it's about being unbroken at the core. A person who has never faced temptation may look pure, but a person who faced it and still chose right is stronger. So yes, a person can be hurt, emotionally damaged, and still pure. In fact, that kind of purity is rare because it is chosen, not protected. True purity is not innocence. True purity is character.